Hey, Katie, thanks so much for joining me on a well-designed business today.
Hi, Luann. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, so this is fun for me, Katie, because, as we talked about in the introduction, you're now partners with Natasha Jones in Natasha Jones Interiors. And I remember talking with Natasha about this definitely pre-COVID.
Yes.
And I don't remember exactly if it's 4 or 5 years ago, but you two becoming partners has been something that's been in the works for those truncated years. But then you guys go back to knowing each other from a different career path that you were both on. And you find yourselves as partners today. We're going to get into that. I want to go into the logistics and the details because many times I get an email or a DM saying, "Can you talk about partnership? Like, how do I do it?" So we're going to do that. But take us back. How do you and Natasha know each other? What was that foundational relationship like? And then how did you come to just like open the can of worms of, "Hey, maybe I could come into your business. What do you think of that?"
Absolutely. So Natasha and I met over a decade ago at a place called Spin Milwaukee, and it was a ping pong club and event space. So I know it's crazy. Natasha was the director of events, and they brought me in as the director of marketing. And we worked in a small little office together every day. And when you're that close in proximity, obviously you talk about personal stuff and you get to know each other beyond work. So we formed not only a friendship, but with working with Natasha over I guess we were there 2.5 years together, we just really trusted each other and leaned on each other's strengths. And we were both like kind of doing the same thing, but in different aspects. So I was bringing people in to the business to do events, and she was actually planning the party. So she would get them in, and then we would try to like sell them and close them, and we would do the tours together. So we kind of interacted, and we just really worked well together.
You know what's so interesting is because I'm going to take myself back to, I mean, probably 5 years ago when Natasha, I remember we had a call together and she reached out to me. She's like, "I need some help. Can I pick your brain? I have an idea. I have an opportunity. I have an idea. What do you think?" And what I remember from that first conversation was the absolute high regard that she had for you, Katie.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I'm going to tear up. That's wonderful.
I know, right? I just got goosebumps too, because now knowing you the last couple of years, it's just funny recalling that story. And she didn't explain, or I don't recall it being explained so clearly, like you're in marketing, you're director of marketing, she's director of events. But she did say that you work together, and she consistently was saying, "We're so good together. Like the things that she does really well, I'm okay at, but the things I do really well, she's okay at." And she goes, and she just kept saying to me, "I feel like it would be a good fit."
Yeah. I always call us, especially in the partnership now, we're kind of like a Venn diagram. Like I have my little
Mm.
part, she has her little part, and then we intersect. And the stuff that we intersect on, we're just like on the same page, but we're not also afraid to like challenge each other, correct? Right. So we can't
Oh,
always
yeah.
be on the same page, but a lot of the times we happen to be.
I love that like visual, that Venn diagram
Yeah.
visual. That is so perfect,
Hmm.
and it really does align with the way that she described the two of you back 5 years ago.
Yeah.
The thing is that the thing did once. So fast forward me a
Yeah.
little. So you guys both work there,
Hmm.
then you both leave there, and what happens? Or maybe one of you leaves. Get me into the
Yeah.
details.
So I left and I actually became a financial advisor. So that was my
Yeah.
start of having like my own business. And Natasha stayed on at the event place for another about 2 to 3 years. But in that time, she started, I guess it was probably 3 years after I left, she started Natasha Jones Interiors. I had left the financial world after 5 years, and I bought a business with my sister and my best friend from kindergarten, and who you've had on, Shannon Lopez, who did the ERC talk. That's my best friend.
Oh, I know. Oh
Yes,
my
yes,
goodness. That's a total close the loophole there.
yes. So we owned cell phone repair stores called Your Break I Fix, and we opened up 4 stores and were able to sell them. And it was a great business experience for us. And after we sold, that's when I approached Natasha officially, and I was like, I'm ready. Let's do this. Are you ready? And so we started talking, and I came on as an employee. So I came on for the first year as an employee, and then for about 6 months, we were talking about the partnership, and we wanted to make it official, right? We wanted to get the business evaluated. So it wasn't because I actually bought in. I wrote a check to Natasa. I bought into the business because I wanted to invest in her. And I'm so very, very thankful that she was willing to do that, right? I mean, it's her business. She didn't have to. So she wanted me part of it as well. But we went to a broker who actually evaluated the business and came up with a number. And based on our percentage of ownership, that was what my buy-in was. And here we are, year and a half or 2 years later.
I love it because I can remember throughout the next ensuing year, year and a half, 2 years, whatever it would be, we would occasionally talk again. And what's interesting, and I just shared this with you off air, until I met you, you were just this person that wanted to buy into Natasha's business. And, Natasha is one of my people,
Yes.
right? Like she's a friend of mine. She is not hey, just some nameless designer out there, right? And I was consistently doing the devil's advocate with her. And I was just like, I understand, but Natasha, somebody can't just be a partner in your business. They have to purchase partnership in your business. Like there has to be like a number that is agreed upon. And that number needs to make sense to you and your CPA, not just to her and her CPA,
Absolutely.
right? Because it's like somebody when they're selling their house. I think it's worth $1 million. I'm sorry. Comps in the street are 500, right? Or
yes.
Comps in the street are $1 million. Why do you think it's 500? It's like, there has to be that third party. And what's interesting is that each time, and this is what I want to just share again, each time I would, let's call it pushback, but I just was being devil's advocate. Well, what about this? And did you think about that? And I want you to consider this and blah, blah, blah. When I tell you, Natasha's a smart businesswoman, each time she was saying, understood, I will do that. I've already thought about that. I didn't think about that, but adding that to the plate. But definitely throughout every conversation, she kept saying to me, but I know me and Katie will fit.
Yeah.
I know what Katie is capable of. I know us together are unstoppable. And it was interesting because I would hear that and I'd be like, yay, you, right? But like, let's get back over here.
Yeah.
I just lost you. Come on back. Like, how much are we going to value the business for?
Yes.
Like, you know what I'm saying? And then over the last, 2-3 years that I've gotten to know you, Katie, you came to a Power Talk Friday, you came to Luann Live, right? You've done a couple of intensive experiences with me where I've had the chance not only to get to know you, but to see you in your role with Natasha. And I'm like, I remember thinking, oh, everything Natasha thought was true. It really was her inside voice leading her to the good thing. She wasn't just, because look, listen to me. Sometimes we want to take a partner on because we're freaking exhausted.
Yes.
It's like enough. Like I
You
can't do it all.
Yes.
Yeah. And I can't. And it's like, dude, but that's not the reason to take on a partner, right? That's not a good reason. It has to make sense in all the ways. And so I love that you turned out to be everything that she thought you were.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah, no. And it makes me happy for both of you. And it also, like I said, there wasn't one conversation. I don't care how much I pushed her on, like, let's call it trying to poke a hole in your motives.
Sure.
Like, for lack of a better way to describe it. There wasn't one time that she wasn't like convicted in defending you and in a way that resonated with me. Like, it wasn't like she was just propping up. I was like, oh, there's something really here.
Yes.
And so I'm so glad that it worked out for the
Yeah,
day.
it's wonderful. What's interesting is my biological sister, my best friend, always calls Natasha my soul sister. So that's a pretty big thing when someone who I'm so close to sees us and it's like, you guys must have known each other in another life. I don't know what is with you two. You guys are soul sisters. And I do feel like on the other end, Natasha was telling me, I'm talking to my mentor, Luann. I'm vetting this with her. I'm having these conversations. And I couldn't have been more supportive. I'm like, do it. Talk to your people. Like, this is an unusual step, I believe, in the design world. I don't know what it's like over there. I don't come from that world. Talk to everybody. Make sure, like, we both wanted it to feel right. If it didn't feel right financially, obviously, for both of us, it wouldn't have worked. But also just the connection of it, you know? So I was like, please talk to everybody. I want to make sure that you're ready, I'm ready, and let's go.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting and what bears out is, like I said, spending the day I think you went to the High Point Power Talk
Correct.
Friday in 2022, right?
Yes.
Spending that day and then again this past fall, it's what keeps coming through is your business savvy, your business expertise. So to the point of financial planning, having your own business, which
Mm-hmm.
own 4 locations. I mean, this is some chops here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so for you, obviously, right. Like when we know a bit, anything is good, whether it's, go try the ice cream or go talk to your business mentor, when you're confident with that, what you're doing is coming from a good spot. Yes. Go check it.
Yes.
Go do it.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do
Yeah.
feel having owned those, you break at fixed stores, it doesn't matter what you're selling or who's on your
Right.
team or whatever. You have the basics and you have the systems and all that down, and you can transfer it to wherever. And when I came
Yeah.
on with Natasha, obviously she's a brilliant designer, a creative mind, but she's also very, like you said, very business savvy. So she had a lot of the pieces already in place, and I was able to just come in and fine tune them and make them even tighter and make sure that I'm sure other designers will have a lot of pieces in place, but if the project takes over and the creative part is in front of you, you maybe want to focus on that and not look at the P&Ls. And, so you're just trying to stay consistent with making sure that every time we do a project, we think of the whole picture, the financial picture, and the satisfaction of the client too. So
I know it's awesome stuff. So you go and you have the business evaluated.
yep.
Was there any, at that point, it's perfectly logical that there might have been negotiation or discussion on, is it a valid evaluation, or did you both look at it and feel like you've got a finance background? So did you agree with it? I mean, I think about, we just sold Window Works to our kids.
Yay, congrats.
And, there was 90 conversations about, that's the evaluation. Like, Vinny and JC and myself and Christy, like it's a logical step. I'm curious if it happened, and if it did or it didn't, it shouldn't be considered, oh my God, a red flag, right?
Yes. So I will say, obviously, when you start a business on your own and grow it, as Natasha did, you have an emotional attachment to it. It's like if you've lived in your house for 30 years and you're going to sell it, all of a sudden you're like, that's the value. Like what? There's the emotional, and then there's the actual, I guess, reality. So
Right.
I will say, when the evaluation came in, I felt like, yeah, looking at the numbers, this makes sense. For Natasha, she was like, oh, that seems low. Like, that's not what I expected. It seems lower than I expected. And actually, after we looked at it and we used that as the basis, but I ended up giving a little more because that's how it for both of us, it felt right. Yep. Exactly right. Exactly right.
And you knew the potential.
And it was a number that Natasha was comfortable with, and I was more than comfortable with, because we're like, yep, I know where this is going. I see it.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, getting our businesses evaluated, it really comes down to some very critical factors, right? Like, what's the owner's comp package look like? Is it like my language, is it a you or a business? If we take the owner out, is there anything left?
Correct.
Because if the answer is no, then you don't have a business to sell, right? So what were some of the factors? And they can be personal factors that factored in for Natasha Joan Interiors, or just in your experience having sold businesses and bought them, and your financial background. For someone listening,
Yes.
what do they need to think about when they are going to get their business evaluated? Like, where is that business person going to hang their hat on, and what do we want to shore up in order to make sure we come out on the better side of an evaluation
Yeah.
and not surprised.
So I think one of the things that people look at most is your P&Ls and your cash balance, right? So while you could be making, let's say you're pulling in $500,000 of revenue, that's awesome. But if you have $0 in your bank because of what you're paying your people, or you're not paying attention to cost of goods or whatever, your business really isn't worth anything, right? If you're working out of your home and you're not in a studio, you don't have a physical location with furniture and all these other things, there's a lot that goes into the evaluation. So I feel like having a good accountant, having a good CPA or a bookkeeper to getting those numbers really tight and understanding them and understanding where your dollars are coming in from and where they're going out really will help you be prepared to have like a good conversation and evaluation of your business. Some business consultants look at future business when they're doing your evaluation. So some of the things that we looked at is, and we do this, I do it weekly because it's just, I'm crazy about numbers, but looking at projections and saying, okay, this is actual money that's coming in, and this is a warm lead. We are having a proposal out there in a conversation, but we haven't closed the business. So that actually can help make your business a greater value when you have future business on the books. So there's some things to consider as well. Yeah.
Right. And also too, I mean, in my experience, and maybe it was or wasn't with the two of you, but in my experience, it's also that owner's comp package, right?
Yeah.
Because I find, I'm going to tell you, Katie, the number of times, like I almost start every single time somebody's interested in chairman of the board or anything like that, if I'm getting to know you at that level, you know, within probably 3 to 5 minutes, I'm going to ask you, are you paying yourself? Right. And so often I hear, oh, well, when I need money, I write a check. And my bookkeeper, she calls that like,
a draw.
Yeah, like that, like, but that's what I'm saying. Like they'll be like an owner's disbursement.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like this, right? And I'm just like, so you're not, are you a sub S corp? Like, are you a W-2 employee? Like, do you, even if you're doing the whole thing on owner's draw, owner's disbursement, are you doing an executable, repeatable amount? And to me, I've just been raised in like the other end of business that's not touchy feely.
Yeah.
And it's like, either I'm looking at a potential buyer and saying, I make $250K out of this business every year, come hell or high water, or I don't, right? Not like I pay myself when it's, willy nilly.
No. And that is actually something that Natasha was just doing draws. When it was just her, she was just doing draws as needed, or blah, blah, blah. When I came in, I'm like, we both have to be, I'm going to be on salary because I'm an employee. And even as a partner, I'm in salary, and so are you. So that was kind of a non-negotiable. I go, Natasha, you need to know, first of all, the business can support it. And even if you want to call it a draw, and you go from an LLC to an S corp and all that, fine, just make it consistent. Say, I'm going to pay myself $2,500 a week, whatever the number is, but take that draw consistently so you get used to it. I just think it's really important for the business and important for you. Like you deserve it. You deserve it. You're running your business. You should pay yourself.
Well, I think that it has tons of repercussions, and all of them good. Number one is, yes, when you eventually do want to sell or entertain a partner, you can look and say, I have legitimately, consistently earned 100 or 200 or 300, whatever it is, out of this business. That's a fact.
Right.
Okay. So if you buy this business and I'm gone, you step into that number. Okay. As long as you keep the other balls in the air. Right. But the other thing too is, when it is a committed amount, I think every day is very different. It's like, like what we always call it over here is our cost to be open number.
Yep.
Like how many in WindowWorks, how many window treatment orders and awnings do we have to sell in order to be open? For me, how many sponsorships do I need to sell in order to be open? Right. And it's like, and what happens is if you're only taking money when you have it in the checkbook, or actually a big bill is due at home, then what makes you pick up the phone and create income when you don't have that over your head, right?
It's such an important point. It's such an important point. So we do a budget, right? I do a yearly budget. I estimate what we're going to take in for revenue. I put all our fixed costs in there, which includes our pay and of course rent, all those other things. And then our variable costs like marketing, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, we know what it costs to run the business. We know it. So
That's
guess
right.
what? We're behind right now.
We got to
We got
sell
to sell.
X amount of projects.
Absolutely. And then it gets exciting because you can, you have your projections. So you kind of have your future numbers. You have your present and past numbers in your P&L, and you look at your budget and you say, oh, okay, like we're doing it. And if we do it like this and it continues, guess what? We're going to take home 20% of what our revenue is. It's, I know I sound super nerdy right now, but it gets me so excited because it's real. It's real.
Well, and that's the truth. And the thing is, what happens is if you don't, like, you have to put the plan in action. And then there needs to be, like a stupid analogy is like back in the day, it's, now we want to do things for our health to be healthy on the inside. But I come from a generation of women who in the 70s and the 80s were only cared about the outside,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, okay, I want to get into this dress. Well, it's like having the date that the dress has to go on. It's like, I'm
Yes.
going to my sister's wedding, right? It's like paying yourself is that external, like this is an actual business and it must make actual dollar bills.
Absolutely.
I cannot just go week and week and month in a month and not pay myself because I've got income coming from, maybe I'm a side hustler or my partner is the breadwinner in the family, or I'm using an inheritance to start my business. All valid
Yeah.
things. But if we're crafting a business here, then, and a business that has a sellable price tag
Correct.
to it for somebody like Natasa, for you to come in and be able to see there's value here, and I'm going to write you a check for my percentage of ownership, right?
Absolutely. And I feel like
Yeah.
if it validates you, right? It's not that you bought
Yes.
yourself a job. No one wants to buy themselves a job. You bought yourself a business. You're creating a business. You're creating a sellable asset in the future if you ever want to sell it. If not, great. Do it till you retire and dissolve it or sell it to your children, whatever you want to do. But part of creating the business is creating a sellable asset, right? And if you don't
Yes.
consider your position, even if you as a designer, someone could buy the business and buy the systems, the processes, everything, keep you on as a designer at that salary, or just bring someone in at that salary to become the lead designer,
Right.
but they own the business because you have past clientele and you have all these other wonderful things that make it a viable business.
Right.
So
Yeah. And I just like being like completely like the dog with the bone. It's sort of like if you cannot lay out for me X multiple years where you have consistently earned not a salary that I could make for somebody else, but a salary, an owner's comp package that is 20% of gross revenue, then why do I need to buy your
right.
business? Because if you're not doing that, I can just open my own business and not get paid for the first year.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, that's the whole reason you buy an existing business,
Yes.
because the train is
It's already
already
gone. Yes.
moving.
You could just
Yeah.
kind of
And you're not starting from zero.
exactly right. Exactly right. You don't have all those growing pains. You can just come in and run business as usual or
Yeah.
improve. Yeah. And we actually do,
Yeah.
we did in the last 2 years since I've come on, like we have retirement savings plan. We have,
Good for you.
we have employee contributions where we can't afford healthcare yet, but when we are going to work to that. So we really are trying to make it a
Great.
wonderful place for someone to work and that they want to stay with us long term.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so now next nudgy thing, as I think about someone out there who's got an opportunity to maybe bring a partner in. So we get the business of that. First of all, there's a synergy fit.
Yes.
We have that Venn diagram of our separate superpowers, but alignment on the things and the places in the business where we're going to overlap.
Yes.
And we have alignment there, right? Because every one of us could have the Venn diagram. And, like it's funny because Vinny and I are running into this a little bit now as we're running exciting windows, because Vin really for the first probably 25 years of our business of WindowWorks was responsible for the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until it all switched to like website stuff and digital that I started to get more involved. Okay. And of course, as by the time we ended, I was mostly doing 95% of the marketing by the time him and I exited WindowWorks. But now we're running Exciting Windows together, and it's completely digital marketing.
Okay.
And so here is our Venn diagram. Here's Vinny with all of his money and his finance superpowers. Here's Lou with all of her people skills and her inspiration and let's get the whole team rallied and her, visionary superpowers. And then the overlap in the middle is the marketing talent.
Mm-hmm.
Except that we're not in alignment so
Yeah.
much. Like, he's like, well, why can't the email say that? I'm like, that's a first email. You can't say that on a first email. I could say anything I want in a first email. I'm like, only if you want somebody to read it can you do that. Like, it's like insanity, the arguments that we have over this, right?
Oh my God.
And so I love that your Venn diagram is two separate superpowers, but where your superpowers unite, you are in alignment.
We are.
That's another, like, I would not choose to be partners with my husband right now at this stage of my life.
You've been doing it a long time, okay? So.
Yes, but it's a different world now. It's a different world. I'd be like, nope, I don't choose you.
Yeah. Let me start over here. Oh my gosh.
Choose you every day, all day, from sun up to sundown, but not in a business partner.
Oh my God. I love
it. Because that's the thing, because you are going to have areas where we're using the expression overlap, but areas where you're both going to be involved and have say.
Yes.
And when there's alignment there, I'm just telling you from experience, it's so much nicer.
So much easier, a little smoother. Yeah. I mean, obviously we have our moments of, so one of the things that I think this is funny, that it's always a little bit of a battle, right? So we use Bydoma and we have all our templates, and so we all stay on track and blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, Natasha, the plumbing's not in for this powder room. She's like, I'm designing it in my head. I'm like, but I can't see it on paper. So like we have this constant battle. She's like, I'll get it there. I'm like, I need to see it. I got to get the price in. I got to make sure this is good. So yeah, that's our misalignment right there. Cause she's like, it's all up here. I'm like, get it in the system. And then we're fine. But yeah. Yeah. And it's like how, the other thing is, part of my job is marketing and business development, right? Mm-hmm. Growing the business. That's what I want to do. So I spend a lot of time doing outreach. Like our marketing right now is just videos, photographs, Instagram, things like that. We're not doing a ton of like paid advertisement. But one of the things I focus in is trying to reach out to partners in the community that would align with us, right? So GCs, architects, real estate agents, and getting them in. So I think what our ultimate superpower is I'm good at getting them in, and we have them come to the studio. And then Natasha and I are like, once they meet us together, they can't say no. They're done. They're done.
We're unstoppable.
Totally. So that's, I think that's.
Well, you're doing the same thing you did with the ping pong event.
Exactly. It's literally it. I bring them in, and we knock them down.
She's like showing the pretty and the glamorous and she's creating the feeling, and the creating an event is creating a room, right? It is.
And typically when we meet with partners, husband, wife, whatever, spouses of some sort, one person is more creative and super excited about the project, and the other one might be more concerned about investment or budget.
Tell me the money. Talk to me about the money, Katie.
It is so perfect because we'll always tease. I'm like, yeah, I'm in the spreadsheets and she's designing, and I'll make sure we stay on track for the investment. So there's a comfort level for both of them knowing like, oh, it's just not some creative person that's just going to design, with their head in the clouds. Like it's a real business, a real system, and everything's going to be managed. So yeah, it's fun.
I love it. So moving on from the business evaluation and Natasha having that little say what moment, right? And then was there any debate, or was it, the percentage split? Mm-hmm. Was it up for grabs? It would possibly be 50-50. Was it never up for grabs that it would be 50% of the business? How did you guys decide that? Because that's the next stick point.
Absolutely.
Especially if you had different thoughts about it going in.
For sure. So we had business evaluated, and then I made an official offer. Like I would pay this much money for this much percentage. And then Natasha came back and said, I'm not comfortable, or this is the amount of percentage, which was right now we're 70-30. So she's 70% owner, I'm 30% owner. She came back with what she was comfortable with, and as part of selling what part of percentage of business, excuse me. So there was, some good back and forth negotiation. Natasha obviously had the business for 6 years before I came in, or 5.5 before I came in. And I, like I said before, I'm very thankful that she was even willing to consider selling, right? I think she saw the potential that I could bring to the business. And yeah, so it's just some back and forth and some open and honest conversation. Yeah.
Well, I love that you just said that, open and honest conversation, because if you are considering a potential partnership with someone, and before you make the purchase and the final deal, if you can't have open and honest conversation
Oh, yeah.
then how the heck do you think you're going to have it when you both have skin in the game? Like, no.
Yeah, no, you have to be able to
Right?
just put it on the table, take feelings, kind of set them aside, talk about it. I mean, obviously there's feelings involved, of course, but just, we both have to be on the exact same page. Like this is a second marriage. Like this is a partnership.
That's right.
And
That's
we
right.
have to make sure that we're both feeling really solid on the foundation. So we did both have lawyers, right? And separate lawyers
good.
that when we
Yes.
did the operating agreement, and when the operating agreement was brought up, I talked with my lawyer, certain things we didn't like, she has it, so we wanted to do it the right way. So if worst case scenario, the business or the partnership dissolves, which I don't ever foresee happening, but there are always worst case scenarios, right? We're both protected, and we're both comfortable, and we can always go back to that document if there's any questions.
And to that point, did you build in language about the exit plans if one or both wants to end it?
Yep.
And see, it's like having a prenup.
It is.
You have to have it, right?
Absolutely. And then we have other things in place, like life insurance on each other. These little details, right?
Yes.
So
yes, we always did that as well.
Yeah. So if something happens, we can buy our spouses out. They can. So it's just you just want to be real thorough. You want to be thorough because it's better to have that than if you get into an uncomfortable position and you're not able to have open conversation. It can get icky really quickly.
Well, what it is to your point, there's no way that there aren't emotions in place here, but they're less likely to be heightened emotions than if you get to a point where you don't see eye to eye and you're trying to get out and you're angry.
Yes.
Or God forbid there is a death or incapacitation
Correct.
in some regard. There's tons of grief and all the things that go around that. And if you're expecting clear thinking in those situations, you're just like, I don't know, like what kind of silliness is that? And it's just like when we say, you listen to the show, it's just like we say all the time. Before you're in contract with your client, you can say yes or no to anything. They still can say yes or no back.
Absolutely.
But if you can't lay down your expectations and the way you're going to run your project at the beginning before they sign, when do you think you're going to tell them afterwards, this is how we're going to do it? Like, no.
Those are hard conversations to have. Yes. Yeah. So
we always had the life insurance policy on the partners because for us, we, like, for instance, when it was me, Vinny, and Billy, Billy's wife, she's a great lady. Like, Vinny and Billy are first cousins. I mean, they're family.
Yeah.
She's a CPA. Like, she's not somebody you wouldn't want to be in business with, but we actually didn't want to be in business with her. You know what I'm saying? Like, if anything happened to Billy, thanks so much, we'll hire an installer. It's just me and Vin.
Right.
And so we always had it that the business paid for the life insurance policies, and that goes to the surviving spouse. And then the shares come back to the remaining partners. And even in the case of if it was me and Vin, it was like, I would get the life insurance policy, but his shares then would be split between me and Billy, not all coming to me as the wife. I had one benefit as the wife, but a different benefit and agreement as the partner.
Exactly correct.
You know what I'm saying? Because then I would have been like 81% to Billy's 19, and he would have been like, well, this isn't the company I signed up for.
Yes. Well,
right?
because if you and Vin were spouses and you were just a random partner, then you'd be buying out that
Right.
partner. It's a different relationship, right? So
But we had to address it
exactly.
from both sides beforehand with the three of us. And so these are the key things, right? If someone listening is considering partnering, it's the fit, right?
Yes.
What is the Venn diagram of your world of the two of you? B, what is the business evaluation, and do you both agree to it, and does it feel right? And then C, what is the amount of partnership that you're willing to sell? Because she was willing to sell 30 doesn't mean wanting or being able to or willing to sell 50 is wrong. It
Right.
was what was right for
Right.
her. For somebody else, they might want to take on that 50-50
Yes.
or, 51. Like Vinny, when I started Luann Nigara Inc., he's like, well, I'm going to be your partner, right? I'm like, okay, 49 though.
Yes.
He's literally a
That's the
49%
best.
partner. I'm like, no way. You ran the ship for
It's
40
my
years. This is
turn.
my ship.
My turn now. I love it.
Right? So,
Oh my God. Yep.
so it doesn't matter what it
It
is.
doesn't.
It's just that it's agreed upon and you think about it. And I love what you said about that. Like you may have, I don't even need to know the detail, but you might have wanted more than 30 to begin with, right?
Absolutely.
But you were free and safe to express that. And then the two of you were respectful and open enough to discuss whether or not that would happen,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes. Yeah. And if it were, let's say, less than that 30%, who knows? Maybe I'd have been like, you know what? That's just not worth it. Yeah, exactly. It's not enough skin in the game for me. Right. And I don't want to, after owning a business, I didn't want to become an employee again. It's just, I think, you've done it most of your life, your whole life. It's just, it's just hard.
I'm not a good employee. Yeah. I'm the worst.
That's what Natasha says about herself. I'm not a good, I'm like, yeah. So I have such love, true love and respect for what Natasha did. And I couldn't be, as a friend, I could not have been prouder of her. And as a business person, I know how we work together. So I'm like, this is freaking magic. It's gold. Like it's so, and our spouses both supported us and are so thankful that like the band's back together. And we even met with the owner of the company that we used to work with. We're like, we're back together. She's like, We said, we made you guys a lot of money. Now it's time for us to make us a lot of money.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I think you guys are, I was about to say you're lucky, which of course we always say how luck plays a role in almost anything that happens, but it's, to me, it's like when somebody says, oh, you're lucky you have a happy marriage. It's like, man, I get up every day and work on this son of a gun.
Yes.
like, even in the smallest moments, you're just like making micro decisions to let something go or to support something or to whatever, like from big and little decisions in a marriage. It just doesn't happen. Right. And so, you're lucky, but you also are two people that it's clear how much you respect each other and appreciate each other. And, that I love the opposite skill sets, right? Like that's like gold right there.
Yeah.
Right?
It's been really helpful. Like I said, she had so many great things in process already. And I was able to come in and fine tune them. And I feel like, honestly, last year we were 50% above our revenue, and this year our goal is 50% last year's revenue. So we're going for growth. We are really going for growth, and having I don't want to get in weeds of systems and things, but knowing where money is coming from and knowing margins makes, when you're doing a project, you're thinking about all those things and you're thinking about the end game, and then you're thinking, okay, at the end of 2024, this is how much money we're going to have in a bank. Once again, it's a business. Like, what are we here for? We're here to make people's lives wonderful and beautiful homes, but we're also here to make money, have a business. And we're both not afraid to say that. Like, this is our job. Like, this is what we came here.
That's right.
Yeah. So.
Well, and you know what? I remember Tiffany White was on the show years ago. She goes on Instagram by the handle the Nappy Bohemian.
Okay. I got to look her up.
And yes, she's a love. She really is. And she's moved very much into the wellness space now, but we're still friends and I still interact with her here and there. But the thing was, her episode, there was a line, and I got to tell you, I think I probably interviewed her 6 years ago, but she said a line and it just is like a right between the eyes line. And well, I remember exactly the context, but I think she had been on an appointment, a consultation of some sort that probably wasn't successful. And whatever it was, the detail we were talking about, maybe they didn't sign the contract. I don't remember what it was, but I remember she said, I came back home and I looked at my babies and she said, I just missed like 3 hours with you to be there. And that wasn't, and whatever it wasn't her ideal client. She knew going in. I don't remember the nudge and the detail. You have to listen to the episode to remember what it was. But the feeling that I'm left with these 6 years later was what I was just doing does not serve the highest purpose of my business. And at the same time, it's taking me from this little person here in my house. And that's when she said, never again. If I'm leaving this little person, it's because I'm doing my best as a business owner. I'm charging what I'm worth. And I know that this is because I'm building something for this little person, not just taking away. It was like that sort of a thing.
Yes.
And, the lesson was just like right in your eyes, like bang.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to spend your time away from the people you love the most, you really should get fulfilled out of it and have a purpose. So I 100% understand and agree.
Yeah, and it has to be profitable. It has to benefit the family in a positive way.
Exactly correct.
Because you can go volunteer for free, right? Like, so and then just a little bit, because you teased us a little bit with that margins and projecting and all of that stuff. What would you say to someone who's like, wait? How do you do that? And I might be too much. It might be too long of a program, but are there particular things that you have in place that you monitor and do and look out for?
I would say there's a couple things to pay attention to. It's real simple. Know where your money's coming from, right? Know your different revenue streams, whether it's from window treatments or furniture or design services. So know your revenue streams and know the margin on each of those revenue streams. Right. So I feel like, for instance, sometimes we purchase building materials, right? Cabinetry and tile, countertops, things like that. Well, our margin is about 20%. That's good. It's fine. But design fees, right? It's pretty much 100% profit. There's no cost of goods to that. Right. So let's look at our design fees. Make sure that we are charging enough. Make sure that it's, consistent, that we're charging the same thing for the same projects. And so I just take a really deep dive and look at where the revenue streams are, what they are, and then what's the profit margin on that. Right. And then, the other thing is we actually set up in QuickBooks what we call projects. So let's say I'm working on a Vin and Luann's house and they paid us this design fee and we earned this much from furniture. We also track our hours in there. So we know how much we're actually paying ourselves. So at the end of the project, we can look at the project and see how profitable it was. So we look at each project and see how profitable it was. And from that, we can learn, wow, we don't make as much money on kitchen projects as we do on living room projects or whatever it may be. So you can really kind of narrow it down to be like, this is where she's spending our time.
See, I love this. I love this so much. I can't stand it because we have done this in our business all the years. And as we lead the Exciting Windows member, we encourage them to do the same because the thing is, what you're talking about is the autopsy of every project. It is so critical to do this, not just at the end of the year. Is there more money in the bank account than there was last year? And do I have money? Like that is just like such a surface level way to evaluate your business. But I love that analogy. We learned that we actually make more profitability on living room projects than we do kitchens. So, okay, maybe we love doing kitchens. Maybe it's where our greatest creativity comes from. Maybe, they're the ones that are sexy and get the best pictures. I have no idea what the factors are that would compel somebody to do kitchen design when they know they make more money on living room design,
Yeah.
right? But the thing is, with that in mind, you can plan your year. I can hear you, Katie. Like the fourth kitchen design comes in the front door and you're being like, Tosh, we need a few living rooms here.
Yes.
What are you doing,
Yeah.
sweetie? Need a few living rooms. Put that one off till August. Let's coach a living room in here,
Yes.
right? Like you're not going to turn down a $500,000 kitchen because the margin isn't as good as a living room, but you are intentionally, because we all know, look, Natasha is an exceptional saleswoman,
She is.
right? I know she is. And we all know in those discovery calls, once we have the sense that it's the right fit, well, if I'm you guys and I've done 3 kitchens in a row and I don't have a living room on the horizon for foreseeable future, and this client here is wanting to do both a living room and a kitchen, like I'm going to rope that kitchen in on the dotted line.
Yes.
And if I'm only getting one out of this phone call, I'm going to get my living room. And then I'm going to say, and we'll start the kitchen afterwards, unless I think I can get them both.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
But it's that kind of
Mm-hmm.
strategy that keeps a business healthy, right?
Mm-hmm. And grow, right? So if you just
Right.
say, "Oh, I have $10,000 in the bank. That was a successful year." Well, how did you get the 10,000? Where did it come from? And how can you repeat that? What can you do next year to make that 20,000? So if you don't know where the money's
Exactly.
coming from, how do you even grow your
Yeah.
business? So
Yeah. Well, and I love that you evaluate the margins by revenue stream. I just had one of my COBs do this in the opening, one of our first or second sessions. I was like, I want you to go and figure out your margins for every single product that you're selling and every company that you're selling. And you cannot believe, like, she literally, she was like, when we came back to the next meeting, she's like, okay, so I'm not going to say your whole fee was paid based on this exercise, but over the course of a year, 1000%, I just made back your fee for this year, which is not
yeah,
insignificant, my fee, by the way. Because it's like when you actually look at it, right, Katie? I know I'm talking to the choir here. Then you see, like, oh, I keep doing 10% there. I could be doing 35, or I
right.
keep doing 5. I should be doing 25. And it's just a matter of plugging it in and not turning back. Just
Yes.
like, this is the choice. And what was so funny was, I love when in this particular exercise, I'm hesitating because I'm trying to think of the exact example if I don't screw it up, because this is where you guys and your businesses are a little different than mine. But I feel like the one of the ahas was in one of the places that she was consistently charging, say, 40% margin, was a place that it actually was consistently putting her above like MSRP or
Mm-hmm.
MAP or whatever the words are that you guys use, right? But because she did not believe that was the case, for 8 years, she has consistently done that.
Yeah.
You understand, like designers will definitely be like, oh, I can't do that. That's ripping somebody off, right? Like,
No.
really though, right? No. And so the thing was that it was a great exercise for someone to recognize when they believed a certain set of facts, they were able to execute it without any hesitation. And so that's why I love when people say to me, oh, I couldn't possibly put more than 10% on anything. I'm like, oh, okay. Why don't I just change the numbers while you're not looking, and I'll watch you sell it the same day?
Yes, exactly right. Like we always say, you're not going to go to the restaurant and be like, well, you paid $15 for the steak. I'm only going to pay 20. Like it's the price on the
Right.
menu. I'm going to pay it. I don't know what it costs you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, good stuff in there, Katie. Good stuff in there. So before I let you go, we covered, getting into
Mm-hmm.
partnership, having the synergy as personalities and work strengths and alignment. We covered evaluating the business. We covered the conversation about the percentage of
Mm-hmm.
partnership. We covered that you each have your own lawyers, that you have contingencies, you have your prenup set up already for exit plans. We covered that you wrote a physical check, that it wasn't like, I'll work my hours off. Thanks.
No.
I'm totally against that in every shape or
Mm-hmm.
form. And then we covered, it needs to be profitable and how to look at different things. Is there anything that you can think of in regard to, you're sitting in High Point and somebody's like, I'm thinking about going into partnership with somebody. I heard your interview, and you'd be like, the one thing that I would just say to you, is there anything that we didn't cover? I'm not sure if there is or isn't.
I don't think so. I think it's, the scary part of the legalities and all those back and forth negotiations. In the end, while it's happening, it can kind of sometimes feel a little odd, a little weird. But when you know that you're doing that and it's done, and you can just get your feet on the ground and run, and all those things have taken place, it feels better. So I know it can be scary, and it can feel a little odd, especially lawyers want a worst case scenario every second of every day.
Yes,
and it could get scary when you're going through the process, because you're like, oh my gosh, like this is all going to fall apart and we're going to hate each other at the end. And so it's like, okay, put that aside.
That's a legit thing,
yes,
right?
put it aside.
Like, this is one of my best friends, my soul sister.
Yes,
is this going to ruin this, right?
Yes, that was, so get through all that icky stuff. Trust your gut. I know the first Luann event I went to, it was a lot of conversation of trusting your gut and going with your instincts. And I do feel like both of us did that in this situation. And it couldn't have worked out better. I will say too, sometimes there's some ego in ownership and creating your own business. And if you're willing to put that ego aside and bring someone in that can help grow your business, grow it together, it's really worth it. I believe it's truly, and it's hard to do. It can be hard to do. It's your little baby that you created, and I get it. And if you find the right person that understands and has as much love for it as you do, I think it'll be a good fit.
Yeah. It's awesome. I love it. Such good advice. It's been my pleasure getting to know you really over these last couple of years, and you said there, you each trusted your gut, and you did it and still checked. So it's okay to check,
Absolutely.
but it's clear to me that Natasha's gut was right from the beginning.
Aww.
And that is just exceptional. I love it.
Thank you so much. Thank
you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Luann. I'm happy to be here. And if anybody ever wants to reach out, I'm more than willing to just chat. So.
Oh, that's awesome, Katie. That's great. Thank you.
Okay. Goodbye.